Number 42, the villain. Number 58, the hero. Both of these people have appeared all over the internet, whether it be in memes, people debating who was smarter, and even who deserved to win. In this video, we're going to break down the important parts of MrBeast's video, but to end the debate of whether or not 42 is actually a villain. MrBeast has designed a challenge quite similar to Squid Games, except for the fact that the participants range from 1 to 100. They are housed in cubicles with one objective in mind: win the cash prize of 250,000. At first it's everybody for themselves, but MrBeast decides to make the video more interesting.
We have to do a challenge.
He asks the other participants to pick a team captain, and the results are age 14, age 30, age 42, age 64, and age 100. Number 42 is picked as the captain. Now, what's interesting about number 42 is that unlike most players, he decided to establish a friendly relationship with number 43. Why? Well, some believe that number 42 had knowledge of how the game was going to work beforehand. As MrBeast admitted, some reactions in games are scripted, and others believe that number 42 is the devil himself. And well, why wouldn't you? Based on his actions and methodical way of proceeding through the game, it wouldn't be that big of an assumption. Jokes aside, number 42 knew he would be rewarded in his own way for establishing bonds early on in the game. And rewarded he was. As the game ensues, MrBeast decides to increase the stakes by slowly adding a certain amount of money each time. Why? This is to pressure the team captains, as if they decide to walk out, only they will get the money, while the other contestants on their team are left to suffer. The thought of easy money is tempting for an individual like number 42, and he briefly considers leaving when the offer reaches 100,000, but he decides to not only be patient, but perform an incredible feat of mass manipulation on his teammates. To explain, number 42 knows the situation they're in is stressful. The promise of easy money is on the line, and all the contestants' faith and trust are placed into their team captains. If even one of their team captains decide he wants easy money, they get all eliminated. Now, 42 has two options in this scenario. He can either A, hold out just long enough, at least until the prize pool reaches a high enough number that he deems good enough, or B, hold out all the way and lose out on money. Surprisingly, number 42 chooses option B, and it seems things have gone all wrong, especially considering number 30 decides to betray his teammates and leave them all for the guarantee of $100,000. Perhaps number 42 isn't actually a villain like everyone else is saying. What evil person would willingly lose out on easy money? $100,000 is no small amount, especially considering number 42's background. Number 42 is a man with 4 kids, who works a normal job, and the United States of America's economy can especially be brutal for middle-class families, and $100,000 would have been more than enough. But despite his background and despite the situation, number 42 declined, not because he's good, but because he knew there would be an even bigger and better opportunity. Remember how I previously stated that number 42 performed a mass manipulation feat. Declining the $100,000 was that feat. To explain, number 42 knew at this very moment it would either make or break the trust that the 40s group had for him. He could have walked away from it all 100,000 times richer, but he decided to use similar tactics from what is referenced in books like The 48 Laws of Power, and specifically in Laws 22, 29, and 35. Play the long game, and his patience paid off because he sacrificed the opportunity for easy money. The results are, as stated below, he has a chance of gaining an even bigger prize pool from the 100,000 he lost out on. His position as the leader of 40s group is solidified, and any mistrust or suspicions his group once had for him will be now quelled. And most importantly, he especially has every participant in the 40s group under his thumb. They can act as his pawns that he can manipulate and move around for his benefit. Even more surprisingly, his kind-hearted act isn't just recognized by his own group, it's recognized by the others that are left, specifically the groups that are led by 14, 64, and 100. This will lower their suspicion of number 42 and make it easier for him to make big plays in this game without being caught. The next challenge involves a customized spinning wheel that MrBeast had created for the game. The purpose of this wheel is to eliminate 16 more players. This spinning wheel involves the remaining numbers of all contestants. Upon spinning it once, it will land on a number. That number represents one of the many participants in the game, and the amount of power and influence they have is especially at its peak. Why? Because once a number is chosen, the wheel is spun a second time, and the numbered participant now has to choose who gets eliminated. So for example, MrBeast spins the wheel once, and it lands on number 47. He spins it again, and it lands on... Number 47 has two choices. She can either A, eliminate the player, thereby increasing her own team's odds of winning the game, or B, take a more powerful approach and refuse to eliminate a player, but this choice has its risk. The power of choosing who gets to stay or go is passed on from the original number that was chosen by the wheel to the player that was spared. This is risky because as the wheel continues to spin, the chances of it landing on 47 is still out there, and who knows if the same player that was spared will return her kindness or decide to sacrifice her for her own self-gain. Anyways, after a few eliminations, number 43 is selected to be the one who gets to choose who stays or goes, and this is where 42 decides to make his move. He manipulates number 43 by especially saying, "You know what this means, right? Now you are in charge." This only causes number 43 to get stressed out, as being a leader in today's society is already stressful. But in a game like this, the stress is just at its breaking point. The amount of money that can be won has increased, and it's all up to number 43 to make the right decisions to ensure her team comes out on top, even if that means eliminating innocent people. When money is involved in a scenario, people's morals often change. Number 42 took advantage of all of this and decided to help guide number 43 to make the right decisions. But really, this was just number 42 establishing a puppet to puppeteer relationship, with number 43 being the puppet and number 42 being the puppeteer, the one who controls his teammates with an invisible thread. He starts by subtly convincing number 43 to eliminate number 66. He tells her, if you let her stay, she gets control. Now remember, back to my previous explanation of this game, where it's revealed that the power of choosing who stays and goes is given to the participant that's spared, which means if number 43 decides to spare number 66, it will be her turn to decide who stays and goes. And who knows if number 66 will return the compassion. Number 42, however, has given her a more simple path to follow. Eliminate number 66 and keep control. By keeping control, you'll be able to decide the flow of the game, which means Group 40 will win. The results in number 43 eliminating number 66 due to his influence over her, and this is where the true evil in number 42 begins to leak out. He uses number 43 as a pawn to eliminate as many people as he can to not only speed up the chances of his own success, but to also take out the competition. He reinforces her decision by saying, "I am proud of you," followed by him reassuring her that they're at war and they need to keep the control if they want to win. 57, 65, 17, 93, 75, and 62. These are all casualties at the hands of number 42, but his most cruelest acts yet are the elimination of number 11 and number 16. Number 11 is a 11-year-old who's a fan of MrBeast, not to mention winning a large amount of money at a young age would practically be a child's dream, however they don't really comprehend it. And here in this moment, number 43 actually falters. She starts to panic and consider the possibility of sparing a child, and who can blame her? Number 43 is likely a parent herself and knows the feeling of how crushing it can be to see your own child be disappointed and cry. She hesitates and time starts to run out. But the devil on her shoulder, number 42 says the following words, which stills her resolve more than ever. Those words are, "Now is not the time to develop a heart." Especially telling number 43 that, "I get it, you don't want to disappoint the child, but we're so close to the end. You've eliminated countless others. Why should this child be any different? Why develop a heart so late in the game? Cast your feelings aside and stand tall." With this, number 43 coldly eliminates the number 11, which shocks everyone, including MrBeast. Number 42, however, is grinning in satisfaction. He was worried that his plans would have all been for naught due to the compassion of a mother. However, his hold on number 43 never weakened or strained. With this elimination, it only got stronger, along with number 43's resolve to win the game, which was what allowed her to be able to eliminate number 17. Number 17's position was arguably the worst out of all contestants. His grandmother was sick, and the large sum of money could easily help pay for her treatment. Number 43's response? She not only eliminates him, but barely gives it any thought. She does this far faster than the elimination of 11, which caused her to falter. And with this, number 42 knew it was essentially game over. All he has to do now was wait until the time was right to strike. The wheel eventually lands on number 41, and number 42 could have easily manipulated 43 to eliminate her own teammate. But he knows if he does that, the trust he's worked so hard to gain, the trust that he sacrificed $100,000 for, will be for nothing. So he decides to take the risk and let things play out. Number 43 decides to spare number 41, and the game continues. However, feelings of resentment are bubbling in the 50s group, most notably with number 51. He had to watch as nearly all of his group had been decimated by the manipulator in the shadows, number 42. All hope seemed to be lost, but unbeknownst to number 51, someone was listening. A quiet hero, number 58. Number 58 has been quite unknown until this very point in the game. He's arguably one of, if not the most kindest person in the game. He only takes part in keeping his group together, while it's avoiding conflicts unless absolutely necessary. MrBeast decides to increase the stakes even more as he blacks out all the cubicles to avoid planning and discussion amongst others. People's voices can be heard if they yell enough though. MrBeast then says, "You have 10 minutes. If one of you steps out and voluntarily eliminates yourself, $250,000 in cash is yours. However, if someone also steps out within the 10 minutes, you are both eliminated and go home with nothing." Number 42 can't help but grin. He most likely wants to let out all the emotions within him. This opportunity is essentially perfect. All he has to do is be loud and clear, tell his teammates he's stepping out, and wait. And after 10 minutes, the cash will be his. There is a problem of his teammates possibly considering his betrayal, but I doubt that even crossed their mind. The amount of influence and trust that number 42 has on his group was so large that betrayal wasn't even a possibility to them. I assume that number 42 previously discussed with his teammates the proposal of sharing money amongst his team should he win, as no matter how self-centered number 42 may seem, he generally is a good leader and made no attempts to screw over his own members. The only immoral act he committed was manipulating number 43 for his own benefit, but at the same time it seemed as if he actually wanted to win for his team. Although his intentions were debatable, the fact of the matter is that all number 42 had to do was step out, wait out, and he would win. But this is where things start to go wrong. Number 58 winks at the camera, confusing everyone. Number 58 knew there was a large amount of hatred for number 42, and why wouldn't there be? In the entire span of the game, he's manipulated his own teammates into eliminating as many opponents as possible, practically mocked the contestants who were eliminated by mimicking a sniper rifle whenever one was knocked out, and most importantly, he was directly responsible for eliminating most of Group 50. All of this was enough for number 58 to make a sacrifice play. He purposely eliminates himself at the last few minutes to spite number 42. By stepping out, this means that neither him or 58 win any money. So why did number 58 sacrifice himself? Well, it's quite obvious. He wanted to be the hero and get revenge, but not for just his own teammate, but everyone else who was eliminated by number 42. So, with this battle between good and evil that has been finished, but really, was it a battle between good and evil? Because even though number 42 lost the battle, he still won the war. It was his leadership and passing on words of encouragement to his teammates that allowed number 47 to win. In the end, number 58's sacrifice was for nothing, as his team still lost. Number 58 was influenced by his own personal feelings of resentment for number 42, who was simply playing the game strategically. Numbers 42's strategy, planning, emotional intelligence, raw intelligence, and intelligence are all very high up. In comparison, number 58 has arguably better strategy adaptability than 42, as his strategy changes from ensuring his teammates survive to sacrificing himself to get rid of the quote-unquote villain. His creativity and processing speed is also quite impressive, as he used the unique situation of Game 3 to eliminate someone, and also thought up of a plan in just a few minutes, as evident by him winking at the camera. So number 42 still won in the end, even if it wasn't himself. But the biggest question is, what exactly is number 42? Good or bad? I personally think it depends how you look at the game. From a moral standpoint, he could be considered a villain, but from a strategic standpoint, he's far from it. He's actually shown to use strategy and emotional intelligence to make right decisions for his group, and even words of encouragement in their worst moments.